Hi there, I'm Michael, and welcome to the Paradigm Shift. I've entitled this episode, The Gates of Creation, because this has a lot to do with where we're headed to in the great paradigm shift that we're transitioning into even now. And this is also why, in the upcoming years, telepathy shall become such a important mode of communication for us. For those of you who are not too familiar with the wisdom of Solomon, let me quote a proverb to you that's found in the wisdom of Solomon. And it goes like this: Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they who love it shall seize its fruit. And what this means is, actually the word tongue there in Hebrew actually is translated as the word for hand. It's yad, Y-A-D. And so if you can begin to see it, it's that your tongue, in a sense, what you use to form your words is like a hand that reaches out, and it's either a creative hand or it's a destructive hand. Now, what happens to us is that if anybody out there is anything like me, I can be a bit of a chatterbox. But what happens is that the more we use the spoken word, the more diluted it becomes of power. So in the upcoming years, our senses, our inward senses, our awareness is going to become tremendously amplified. It's going to, even as you will, and I hate to overuse the term, our inward senses are really going to wake up. We're totally aware of the five senses, touch, sight, smell, taste, hearing, so on and so forth. However, the man on the inside of us also has senses. And for those of you guys, women are a bit more prevalent in being able to tap into the right side of their brain. And this is also something that is coming to us, is a far greater connection between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. So, when I first got married, my wife is very, how shall I say, astute at her intuition, and I used to just blow it off. And every time I did, every time I blew off my wife's intuition, I got burned, and I got burned badly. So it took a little while, and I began to wake up that when my wife says, "Michael, I'm sensing this," or "I'm sensing that," I hearken up and pay attention, because I've never seen her miss. And I think that's true with a lot of women out there, is that we guys have made a joke of women's intuition, but it's nothing to joke with. It's generally, it is absolutely spot on, far more times than it's not. But let me get back to the subject here. Now, we humans have been pretty slow to figure out just what this thing we call a mouth is, what its original purpose was for. And it is the mouth is like the gateway of creation, if you will. It's out of our mouths is where the power of creation flows forth out of us and into what we call the quantum field. All right? So the less we speak, the more powerful our words become. Are you following that? For example, I used to do, and I still do, a pretty fair amount of meditation. All right, and it all depends on what you meditate upon. You can meditate on anything you want to, but as you begin to meditate upon the creative aspects of life, and when I say creative, I mean those things that will benefit and not destroy. But what I begin to find out, and what I begin to see in my own personal life, is that oftentimes I'd have a magnificent, a marvelous idea, and I would end up talking about it so much that I dissipated the energy, I dissipated the inspiration, I dissipated the power which I was feeling inside me towards that idea, so to speak. And if I would have just kept my mouth shut and just simply focused on it with my heart and my soul and my mind lined up and spoke it out, it would have come to pass. However, I chose to chat about it and dissipated it. And I think that happens to a lot of us. In the days to come, we are going to find out in a very startling, a very a very marvelous and majestic way. And for some, it's going to be in a quite frightful way, that our circumstances, our lives are formed by the words that we allow to come out of our mouths. And that has a lot to do with why I killed my television. I just never found it a completely sane thing to do, to stare at a black box and yell and scream at the people and get all bent out of shape over what they were saying that really had nothing to do with me whatsoever. And I was creating some very negative circumstances in my life, arguing with some face on a box. Now, I don't know about you, but it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And there was more to my destroying my television than just the fact that I was screaming at the box all the time, especially when I was watching talk shows, the 6 o'clock news, what I might be watching on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, or anything else for that matter. So what we feed into our hearts is what comes forth out of our mouth. Yahshua said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, and it's either going to speak good or it's going to speak evil. If you speak evil out of your mouth, you're going to have evil circumstances in your life. If you speak good out of your mouth, you'll have good circumstances. However, if you speak life out of your mouth, true life, and true life is manifested in these realms of love, joy, peace, understanding, gratitude, every pure and good and noble thing that we aspire to in life. As we meditate upon these things and as we fill our hearts with these things will come out of our mouths. And these things will begin to create magnificent circumstances in our life. I'd like to, there's different, I guess I can use the word emotion. There's different emotions, obviously, that we speak out of. And these emotions create. Now, what we create out of joy, all right, say joy begins to be generated in our hearts, through maybe some beautiful meditations that we're doing or beautiful experiences that we're reflecting upon. And we begin to feel that spirit of joy begin to rise up in us again, as it will. And as we take that joy as a substance within us, and we begin to create out of that, all right, then the circumstances in our lives, the things that are returned to us, the beautiful side of karmic law will begin to become manifest in our lives. And on a whole, and when I say on a whole, I mean on a corporate level, we're going to really, really, really enter into a very deep and profound understanding of this, which is why I say we're not going to be so free with our words as we've been in the past, because we're going to learn in a heartbeat just what they've done. All right? So that is, in a sense, one aspect of our diets that is going to dramatically change. And that's on I suppose you could say that's on a spiritual and a soul level. As I've said previously in a couple of other episodes, these are the things that I saw in the visions in 2004. These are the things I was experiencing as I saw my words coming out of my mouth like three-dimensional holographic projections. And that's why I said they began to freak me out, because I wasn't always very, very careful with what I was saying. And I saw, because like the veil was taken off of my eyes, exactly the effect of what my words were having, not only in my life, but in the lives of others around me. And I saw what was the cause of sometimes some pretty negative circumstances. And so, again, back to what I'd said at the beginning concerning the wisdom of Solomon. And we as a people are either going to learn how to allow the words of life to come out of our mouth, and we're going to enjoy those fruits, those creations, if you will, or we're going to learn in a very dramatic and frightful and very disappointing way on a major scale, just what it means to love the words of death, because they'll kill us. And they're going to kill a lot of people, and they've been killing people since time began. We just have not understood these things before. But as we shift into this as we shift into this great paradigm shift. And I know a lot of you are very, very familiar with the aspects of what are happening in 2012. And something else that I saw that precipitated these visions in 2004 was my wife had this great understanding, and so many things that have happened to me really have come. They've initiated oftentimes through things my wife has said, discovered, done, or whatnot. She's a brilliant woman, and she had discovered this ancient calendar, and it was called the Jubilee calendar. And it was the calendar of the Essenes. Now, why are calendars important? Calendars are important because they let us know. The ancients used to, and I just have to digress here for a moment. The ancients, and I'm talking about very ancients, they studied the stars, they studied the galaxies, they studied the constellations. And through the study of these things, they began to understand that the stars, or that the galaxy and that the constellations was this huge, ginormous clock. And this clock told us when certain ages would begin and when certain ages would end. It let us know times and seasons. And so the Jubilee calendar was inspired, if you will, or was created through the understanding of the galactic time clock. All right, and my wife had discovered this, and she rearranged our own personal calendar. We went off of the Julian calendar, or the Gregorian calendar, the Roman calendar, whatever you want to call it. We went off of that and onto the Jubilees calendar. Now, I used to get kind of confused about this, and I'd kind of slip back into the old calendar. And I'd begin to kind of doubt what she had and whatnot, and that would hurt her feelings. And, it would probably hurt yours too if you had this huge revelation, if you will, and your husband was kind of dragging his feet, or your wife was kind of dragging her feet with this. Anyway, so very, very early in 2004, I was kind of moaning and groaning about the calendar, and all of a sudden I had this vision. And what I saw was this. It was like, here I was standing on the earth, and yet in the heavens, it was like the tumblers on a lock, so to speak, or the gears in a wheel. And anyway, these things began to come together, and they fit into place, and it was just like, boing, man, they just locked. And when these tumblers locked, all of a sudden, this magnificent shaft of light came down out of the galaxy, if you will, out of heaven, right on top of me. And I was locked into this thing. And that's when the visions really became these three-dimensional holographic, images, visions, if you will. I mean, right smack dab in the middle of my living room. So it was like I was thrust forward in time, if you will, for a couple of weeks. And I don't even know if you could really call it that. And this is, sometimes I'm a little hesitant to try to explain this because I don't fully understand it myself. However, it is like this. We're coming into a place where we're going to be living in two realms simultaneously. And the best way I can describe this is that it's kind of like your internal awareness, to a huge degree, is going to wake up, is going to abide, is going to dwell in the only thing I can call it is the kingdom of heaven. Okay, because I don't have really any other term for it. So it's kind of like we're going to be living in the kingdom of heaven and in the kingdom of earth simultaneously. Our internal awareness, that awareness that comes from our heart, that awareness that comes from our soul, that awareness that comes when the left and the right brain are connected, and where the information exchange is flowing back and forth at a rapid rate. Okay, that's going to happen, and it's like our internal eyes, our third eye, if you want to call it that, is going to be opened magnificently. It's like the chakras are going to line up, folks. and we're going to experience what life is like the way it's supposed to be. And something else is that we're going to find out rapidly, I mean in a heartbeat, the effect of various foods that we choose to eat. And I'd like to get into that a little bit deeper, but I've kind of gone past my time here. However, we will find that when we are walking in a very high place and we decide to eat the wrong kind of food, you're going to feel an immediate descending back into a realm you just don't want to live in anymore. And conversely, when we eat certain foods, we're going to find out that these things have an incredible effect on our spirit, our soul, our heart, our mind, our bodies. We are going to be feeling life as we never felt it before, coursing through our veins, energy, power, strength. It's going to be phenomenal. And I'd like to get into that aspect of diet in the next episode. And so I'll just sign off for now. This is Michael, and I'll see you in a couple more days on the Paradigm Shift.
Thank you.